everybody. Welcome back to another episode of God Built This Podcast, PODMAS edition. I am your host, Maxine, and we're on episode 5. Hello. So, Brittney Griner is out. She is released. She is a free human being. At this point, I don't know what her gender is anymore. She cut her locks. And I've been seeing some images of her or whatever, but there's a conspiracy out. Now, to my conspiracy theorist community, you may already be aware of this, but there's a couple of images of her without any breasts, and her chest is completely flat, like a man. So the theory is that she is actually a he biologically and was selected and chosen to be the face of this like transgender, or I don't think she identifies as trans. She's just a gay woman, but playing in the WNBA, she is like the focal point or image that you think of when you think of WNBA. So, which is funny because it's like, okay, she's dominating the WNBA, but she is male presenting and may actually be a man. Like, I mean, it could go either way. Like, I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know what's up and down. It's just, all right, nigga. She probably is a man. She probably was a man. And just, I don't know. Maybe she was selected by the elites to go about this reality. But yeah, I mean, if you look at her physique, and I'm still saying her because that's how she was introduced to us as a woman. So nonetheless, that's how she was introduced to us. And I'm not saying I don't necessarily believe or agree with the theory, but it's something to think about because these images. Now, say, okay, the argument could be, well, maybe she went through surgery, and because I don't think she ever identified as a transgender. So that's why I don't even think about it in that context. So it's not like she went through reconstructive surgery and got her breast cut off. You know, that wasn't a thing. It's just, she's just a gay woman. She's just a lesbian. So, yeah, I don't think she was necessarily a face of queerness, transgender, any of that. She just so happens to be a lesbian black woman playing in the WNBA. And her physique is freakish, really. If you just look at her just from the vantage point of being a human being, like, she's freakishly tall, you know, that's not average for women. And there's some close up to some images that I've seen of her possibly having an Adam's apple. So it's like, bitch, I don't know what is left and what is right. She may very well be a man. Anyway, so she has been released from Russian prison. As we know, she was in prison for bringing with her to Russia hashish, which is a type of cannabis. And this is just not tolerated at all in Russia. And this was during the height of the tension between Russia, Ukraine, and maybe some tension with America. So the thought process that a lot of takes had about this was she was used as a pawn to kind of let U.S. know we're going to hold off on releasing this American, you know, this American who's seemingly valuable. So the expectation that she was going to get released much quicker, and 6 months later, she's now released. Now, I initially said that you should have never smuggled any of that to Russia, knowing that their laws about drugs is severe. You know, their laws about drugs are severe, and they don't really play any games when it comes to that. There's no leniency about that. Now, a lot of people have this idea that, oh, well, it's just weed, right? It's not cocaine, it's not fentanyl, it's not all these things that are necessarily considered hardcore drugs, but nonetheless, it's still a drug that Russia doesn't tolerate. So don't even play with that, especially going to a foreign country. You don't like, they look at America, they either hate us, they envy us, or they want to be us. And that's usually all into one, right? Because if you hate somebody, that means you really love them. And if you envy somebody, that means you really love them and you want to be them, right? So it's all together. So you have someone coming from America who's seemingly valuable in their eyes and in the eyes of Americans, in the eyes of WNBA players. So she was a great fit, and it just kind of worked out in the favor to be used as an example, as a pawn. Anyway, so finally she has been released, and I'm happy that she's released. I'm happy that she is no longer in prison. I still, I didn't think it was wise for her to not smuggle, but you know what I mean, like still bringing. I didn't think it was wise for her to bring hashish or whatever the fuck it was to Russia, knowing that their laws are severe when it comes to that stuff. Regardless of what your take is, I just felt like, girl, you could have, at the very least, find a dealer there. Don't bring it in the airport on your way there, because they find that to be a smuggling situation, and that's more severe. And they feel that, oh well, you may be coming here as a drug trafficker, and that's obviously not allowed. So she's been released 6 months later, and the only reason why she got released is because US and Russia came to a conclusion to do a trade-off. Now this sounds like a freaking movie. If I really want to just get into it, sounds like a movie, because they traded her for another prisoner instead. And this prisoner, his name is Victor Bout. He has been convicted and has already been serving time for dealing military-grade firearms to the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. So this man is pretty dangerous, right? He's well-connected, and maybe someone you shouldn't mess with. And I think the cavalierness of it all, to just simply trade him for Brittney Griner, I just find that to be a little strange. Like, of all of the people to trade someone for, you trade this person who is who is up there when it comes to danger, who's up there when it comes to terrorism and the act of terrorism, and just feeling threatened by possible threats of terrorism. Like, dealing military grade, that's pretty much a big deal, so I find that to be I just find it to be weird. Like, why was he a great candidate to trade off, so I don't know, that was a little weird. And so there's this video out of her and him meeting at not an airport, like a private airport. You know how if you're going on a private jet, there's a whole private sector for you to enter the jet, enter the plane. And that was the scene. Like, it was a scene from a movie, essentially. Like, and it would have been opportune time for some military shots to go out, and next thing you know, someone's dead or someone got kidnapped, right? Like, it seemed like a scene from a movie. It was just so weird. So anyway, they got traded, and you see Brittney Griner with her broad ass shoulders, 6'5" self. Like, I think she probably is a man at this point. Like, what the fuck is, like, she looks so freakish. Like, it's a little weird. Like, I don't know. But nonetheless, she got traded, and she is now back in America, which is good. Like I'm happy for her release. I'm not saying that I was in favor of her spending just so much time in Russia. I just feel like you should have known better. So I'm happy for her release. I do think though it's just all fake. Like I think everything is fake. I think this whole situation was fake. They chopped it up as something so serious, and she's gonna spend they gave her 9 years. We all was informed that she would spend 9 years for this crime, for this alleged crime, right? And for her to just spend 6 months. Now, granted, I didn't want for her to spend longer than a weekend, really. But for it to be drastically reduced to just 6 months out of the 9 years you presented to the media, I just find it to be strange. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what is real? Y'all just happen to trade her for this terrorist, this terrorist coordinator, Victor Bout. Like, okay. Anyway, God bless. God bless. Okay, let's talk about street harassment. Street harassment is now, or will actually officially become a crime next year in the United Kingdom, not in the U.S. Not in the U.S. You can still holler at bitches off the streets and won't get arrested for it. So we're in good shape, right? Things are fine. No, look, I kind of feel twofold when it comes to this, because sometimes you meet a good one off the street, right? Like sometimes there's a potential there from someone you meet off the street. It's a joke. The last person I met off the street was Boston Bay, okay? And that wasn't a great experience. And that lasted too long. But nonetheless, he was off the street. But I guess that's telling. I mean, look, of course, not everyone you meet off the street is a narcissist or has daddy issues or is verbally and physically abusive. Not everyone, but a lot of them are. And a lot of them have undiagnosed mental illnesses. That just is what it is. Like, if I'm meeting you off the street, you want something, right? You want my money. You want my time. You want to con me. That's really what it is. There's like certain people you gotta look out for. Like, people you meet off the street, they're one of them. Like, there's a lot of people here in Houston who are, I can't even tell sometimes. Sometimes I really have to look at you hard enough, because there's some homeless people here who don't look quite homeless. Right? Like, they don't look like they're all the way not put together. Like, half the time, not even half, most of the time, they're in shape. I mean, I guess it makes sense, right? They don't have time to eat donuts and, eat 5 meals a day. They're really at a limited time, or just a limited resource to eat as much as someone who's employed and someone who is sheltered. So that makes sense. But my goodness, there is there's a lot of seemingly there's a lot of men out here who don't look the part. It's a little weird. And the minute I notice, oh no, this nigga's crazy. If he's talking to himself, if he's twitching, if his hair is a little too wild. And look, I'm all for, natural hair. Of course, obviously, I have natural hair. I wear my hair natural, and I've been doing that for many, many years. But men, on the other hand, there's a way to wear your natural hair without looking disheveled and without looking like you're crazy. And that is a clear giveaway for me when I see men on the streets And it's hard for me to tell. I don't know if he's trying to rob me or if he, like, you got to keep your head on a swivel. And a clear giveaway is, okay, how's the hair, right? How's the hair? If it's a little too poked out, right? If the strands, the follicles are too much sticking out straight, that is a clear giveaway to get out. Don't converse any longer. Don't make eye contact. Please don't make eye contact, and keep it moving. And honestly, you should really just always keep it. Never be on your phone, dog. Like I used to have someone I went to college with. She would always be on her phone, like walking on her phone, talking on her phone, and like texting or searching things on whatever she's doing. She was like literally walking and head down on her phone. Like, girl, you're about to fall into a ditch. What are you doing? Hey, let's get to this news. So street harassment will officially become a crime next year in the United Kingdom. Men who sexually harass women on the street will face up to 2 years in prison. Yeah. Now, what does harassment look like? So the following behaviors will be outlawed: following someone, driving a car slowly by someone walking in the street, and wolf whistling and catcalling. Now, look, some of these things is like, come on. But look, I do appreciate this effort, even though I don't live in the United Kingdom. I do think it's a good step, though, because there's a way to approach a woman without making her feel unsafe. And there's a way to share your attraction for someone without making them feel unsafe, and I think sometimes there's a lot of men out here who are creepy. Like, there's a lot of creepy guys who don't have enough experience with women, who are incels, and because of that, there's this lack of confidence and knowledge when it comes to women and dating and approaching them and all these things. And so when you have a man literally following you in his car as you're walking on the street, that becomes a little alarming, right? Especially if you're an innocent woman who may not be aware of street life, you may find yourself even more unprepared for such a situation. Now, for me, if I was in that situation, I'm not even looking at you, right? Like, I don't even give you an opportunity to think that you could say more, not even more than a hello, but a hello. It's oh my gosh. I remember one time I would walk around, not even walk. There was literally one time I decided, let me just walk around my neighborhood. Mind you, I live in downtown. And as soon as I stepped outside to just walk, I was like, yeah, never mind. Absolutely not. Like, it was absolutely not a good idea, because as soon as I stepped out, it was like niggas just came out. Like, it was like, it was like niggas just came out. And I'm just like, oh my God, what are we doing right now? Like, and it was every homeless, crazy man in America. Like, every one of them just came out in every corner, right? And what I hate the most is when I'm walking and you want to go out of your way to say, hey, good morning, how you doing? All right, have a good one now, have a good one. And it's just the extraness in that, right? And some people may think, oh, well, they're just being cordial. You're in the South, right? Like, people are just thinking, no, some people could say good morning, some people shouldn't speak. Let me say that again. Some people could say good morning, and some people should simply not speak, because as soon as they speak, as soon as you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So, for example, for a man off the street saying a seemingly innocent, have a good one, hope you're having a good Friday, ma'am, you look lovely, whatever the saying, I heard them all. If you say, if you even mutter, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. You too. Good morning. Any of that, they'll start walking close to you. Okay? Man, you look so beautiful today. Oh my gosh, I love your smile. Wow, where you heading at? This morning. nigga, I just said, I'm leaving your presence now. Why are you following me? Right? So you have those examples in which it's a little unsettling. It's a little unsettling, and it makes you feel like, okay, is your bitch coming around the corner to get me from the back? Like, what's up? Like, I don't want it, right? And that's what just kills the experience of wanting to walk outside in an area that is urban. And by urban, I'm not saying black. I'm just saying that's a city in a congested area, right? When I lived in the suburbs here in Houston, or like a little outside of Houston technically, but nonetheless Houston, it was so freeing for me to walk outside. I would get out of my apartment and there was a path, a walking path. I would feel so comfortable walking at any time of the day. Now, still, I would still be wise. I wouldn't just start walking at 9 p.m. No, I'll walk during the day when the sun is out, and everything was hunky-dory. Like, I saw swans. I saw babies just walking out by themselves. Like, everything was fine. Now, look, I'm not saying this to say that white people can't be crazy either. Like, I'm just saying the guys who approach me are black men. That's it. Okay? And when I'm on the street, and I have the 2 or 3 times that I walked outside for a walk, for the intention of a walk in the downtown area of Houston, the only people who approach me are black men, okay? And these black men just happen to be homeless and mentally unstable, okay? So, again, that's just my experience. Now, of course, there are white men, but my experience is exclusively been, it's been discriminatorily black men. But, protect black men. So anyway, I just, I think this is a good law, a good system set in place to protect women, and I hope that it's not going to be used in a way that is disingenuous, right? Like, I think, if a woman is attracted to a man and instantly there's a vibe and you just happen to meet outside of a CVS, but even then, right, you have to really kind of gauge the environment, right? Like if I meet you for the first time and it's at the corner, but like if I happen to be in CVS and you're in aisle 3, like, okay, you're in a store that's showing me that you have money, that you have a job, or that you have income. Like, I could assess a couple of things. But if I'm meeting you off the streets, and like our first conversation, our first hello is off the street. No. Remember the other guy? Oh my gosh. Let's talk about this other guy I met off the street years ago. Remember that Karn artist I dated for like 3 weeks until I realized, oh, this nigga's a Karn artist. This is back in Boston. Oh my gosh. But he was actually from Chicago. Shout out. He was actually from Chicago, and I was kind of mesmerized by that because I'm like, oh, I never met anyone from Chicago, and oh, what are you doing here in Boston? I was kind of mesmerized by that. That was before I knew. No offense to Chicago niggas. But I had like a little, I don't know, Chicago. Because the media paints out Chicago to be just, very much a war zone. So I was like, oh, you mean someone from Chicago? I don't know. But that was before I had that mindset. At that time, I was just very, like, naive and like, oh, different area. Tell me about your upbringing type of stuff. I was just curious. Anyway, I met him off the street. I met Karn Artist Bay off the street. And again, I was younger. I didn't have as much life experience as I do now. Typically as you do, you get older, you have more experiences, all these things. So, I'm giving myself grace. So anyway, I met him off the street. As I was walking I think I was leaving like a pizza shop. And he was leaving another store, and we happened to be parked like a couple cars apart on the street of Boston. This was in the Dorchester area. Now, any Bostonians listening or anyone who's familiar of Boston, you may know Dorchester. There's different parts in Dorchester, right? There's the hood, quote unquote, parts, and there's the gentrified parts, right? Like Boston, there's a lot of gentrification, just like there is in many urban areas in America and in the world. But yeah, Dorchester is another example of that. So as I was leaving like this hood section, quote unquote, which I'm used to, right? It's not like it's, you gotta duck around because there's a gunshot. Like it's not that serious. At least I don't see it that way because I was born and raised there, so it's not a big deal. Nonetheless, so I'm leaving. I'm heading to my car. He's heading to his car. I think he said something out loud. Or no, he just made a comment about my physical appearance. And he was like, damn, you looking good. Whatever he said. He was commenting and complimenting me about my appearance. And you know, I'm like, thank you, right? I'm like, thank you. Now, here's the thing with that. If you're attracted or if you find someone attractive and if they compliment you, it's not sexual harassment, right? It's not like you're pleased by their compliment. You're actually opening your vibration to have a interaction in that moment because, I find you attractive and, let's see where the cars, land. Anyway, so I said thank you. I'm smiling mad hard. And he was very much a con artist. Like, con artists, they have this charisma about them. They're sociable. They're easy to talk to. And, like, he was very humorous. And, me, I like to joke. I like to be humorous as well. So we was instantly vibing just within that moment. He said a joke. I added on to the joke. It was, like, this very funny moment. He has beautiful, wide, big-ass teeth. Smile of his. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's so cute, whatever. So we exchanged contact, and like a couple of days later we kind of started talking, whatever. Anyway, when we started dating, I was like, oh man, no, this nigga's crazy. This nigga is crazy. Okay, I remember a couple of red flags. It was like a day or two after we hung out, and he's talking like big talk, like, let's get married, how much money you make. Like, he was asking me very intimate questions that I just felt like, what? It just felt, it didn't feel organic, right? If you're talking about like your life and your work and what you do for a living, stuff like that, there's a way to talk about it without sounding invasive. And the way that he asked me those questions was invasive. I felt like he was reading me out because he was looking for someone who had money. And that's because he didn't have any money. I remember I went over his apartment and he had a roommate. And this was definitely unwise of me. Please don't do this, you guys. Any ladies listening, just don't. Look, I had to go through it so you don't have to go. I mean, nothing happened to me, thankfully. But in retrospect, I think about some experiences that I've had. I'm like, dang, I could have really been in danger. Like, I went to this stranger's apartment after 2 days of speaking to him. And I just felt like it was a good idea to go over his apartment. Who's from Chicago? No offense to Chicago is. No, but seriously, like, I was a fool. Like, that's unwise as hell. And he had a male roommate. Both of them could have, they could have done something very dangerous, harmful to me. Like, I could have been in danger. And thankfully, I wasn't. Thankfully, it worked out. But oh my gosh, please don't do that, you guys. Oh, that's so silly. That's so foolish. Anyway, I was over his apartment, and mind you, the roommate was Hispanic. Now, I know I'm putting a lot of stereotypes out here, but look, you have a black man and a Hispanic guy? Okay. Yes, it could be the same thing with a white man. I get it. Either way, I'm unsafe. Either way, I'm unsafe. And thankfully, I wasn't. Thankfully, it all worked out, but it could have switched instantly, right? I'm a fragile woman at this point, right? And I felt like I was even smaller then. So, my goodness, like, that was just, unwise, Maxine, unwise. So, I remember when I was over his apartment, he was talking about, like, the type of relationship that he wants. And he was instantly speaking in a dictatorship type of tone. He was like, what he says goes, and is basically his way or the highway. And he wants his woman to instantly submit to him, instantly just acquiesce to whatever he wants. He wants his woman to make lunch, dinner, all these things. And then, so that time, so he actually left the apartment. He left me there. I think his Hispanic roommate was still in the apartment, and thankfully he didn't interact with me or anything, but he did introduce me to him, right? So when I came in, he's like, oh, so-and-so, this is Maxine. Maxine, this is so-and-so, right? And I shook his hand. I was like, oh, nice to meet you. You know, me being nice and like, you know how I am, right? Oh my God, so unwise, Maxine. But anyway, I did that. So I shook his hand. Y'all, tell me why, like, after I left the apartment and, like, I went home, like, right before I went home, he said to me, he's like, I didn't like that you shook his hand. You don't know where his hand's been, and now you're going to touch my face with his hand? Now you're going to touch my face after shaking this other man's hand? Like, he was pissed, y'all. I was like, nigga, what? I'm sorry, what? Pero, like, what? Like, again, I'm naive, I'm young, I'm not even aware of how some men could just switch up on you like that. Like, he was just so instantly this charismatic, happy-go-lucky guy, and then instantly he was this dictator. Instantly he was angry. Instantly he was like, this is how it is. You don't ever do, like, he was jealous and kind of rageful in that moment. Like, instantly I just saw something else in him, and it was very freaky. But anyway, yeah, okay, so we ran a little bit, right? So he leaves his apartment to go to the grocery store, and his intention was he said, oh, let's cook together. I'm like, oh, that's fine, like, because that was the purpose of me going over. We were gonna have this, like, date night of us cooking, which I think is a good, I like that idea. But again, it's not a good idea when it's the first date and you just met this guy 2 days ago and he's from Chicago. Unwise, Maxine, unwise. I can't say Chicago. It's a joke. It's a joke. Please don't come for me. It's a joke. So anyway, nonetheless, all of those factors do matter, right? At least most of them. So he returns with the groceries in hand. So I'm literally thinking that, we're cooking. This is a cute date night. Y'all, why did he tell me, so how about you go ahead and just cook for me, or cook for us, and here's how I like it, here's what I want. And I'm like, what? You said that we're both cooking together, like it's a date night. And he's like trying to chalk it up like, no, I want you to cook. I want to see how you're in the kitchen, and I want to see how you would be in our relationship moving forward. Like, it felt like he wanted to test me. Like, he wanted to see the type of woman or girlfriend I would be to him, and this was the ringer. And of course, me being young and dumb and unwise, I fucking did that shit. I cooked. It was like something light, some lunch ass meal. Anyway, y'all, those are all the signs, right? There's more to it. Like, I remember when we went out on a date, like in person, like actually at a restaurant, not his apartment, right? After we ordered, mind you, he only ordered the appetizer and I ordered a meal. That's already a sign enough. Like, what the fuck? Are you eating or not? So he orders an appetizer. I order actual meal. he's showering me with compliments. Like, oh man, you're so beautiful. Like, he's trying to fill me up as if like that would have been enough for me to be like, oh my gosh, he's everything. And it was at the time, right? But me now, obviously me being 31 and experienced and more into like who I am and like my confidence, all these things, that wouldn't fly now. But back then it did. Like I was basking in that. Like, oh my gosh, he thinks I'm so pretty. Oh my gosh, he likes everything about me. He's laughing at my joke. Like everything I said, he was just in awe of. And it just felt like, oh my gosh, I'm the bomb.com, right? No, bitch. He's playing. Anyway, so after we've eaten, he goes to his socks, y'all. His socks. No, that he's wearing. He goes to his socks, pulls out cash to pay for the meal. Y'all, I could have thrown up. I'm sorry. What? Where's your wallet? Where's your license? Where's your credit card? Like, he went to his sock to take out cash to pay. At the very least, you could have had cash in your pocket, not in your sock. Y'all, I can't make this shit. And there's more to it, but nonetheless, it all happened because I met him off the street. Okay? So if you didn't get anything from what I said, let me end it with this. Don't accept men from the streets. Okay? The streets are not your friend. All right, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you so much for listening. Please make sure you are subscribed on YouTube to our channel, God Built This Podcast. Make sure you are subscribed to also the other platforms that we're on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, all the stuff. And be sure to tell a friend. Leave a review as well. Leaving reviews help me. And it helped, continue to get the show on the road. And I love recording and doing this for you all. It's such a release. So thank you so much for listening, and I will check in with you guys next time. Goodbye.